Last time on Dragon Ball Z, the conflict with the androids had finally begun. Two carnival rejects informed the Z homies that they were indeed androids 19 and 20, a fearsome duo created by the hands of Dr. Gero with the sole purpose of sucking every last drop of life out of Son Goku. Without even saying pause, the two androids continued, informing Goku and the others that Gero placed trackers on Goku that had been following him since his victory at the World Martial Arts Tournament many years ago, and using that data, they were created as the ultimate tools to enact the good doctor's revenge. But 20 also revealed that the tracker stopped following Goku upon his journey to Namek, by that point having enough data internalized to handle him no matter how many improvements he made once he arrived there. With a wry smile, Goku took the opportunity to inform the AARP android that he should watch very closely in the next few seconds, because while on Namek, he achieved something their predictions could have never hoped to measure. In seconds, Goku gathered his ki and unleashed it into a fierce explosion, unveiling his Super Saiyan transformation. Upon transforming, Goku does everything he can to take the fight to the androids, but it appears to both Piccolo and the young Gohan that something isn't right with Son Goku, and the two's worst fears were proven correct, as Goku collapsed on the floor rendered powerless by the space STIs he contracted on Yardrat. Just as all hope seemed lost, an unexpected savior arose in the form of the prince of all later rivals, Lord Vegeta, as he entered the battlefield and wasted no time revealing that he too broke the threshold and was now a Super Saiyan himself. Toying with the rotund android briefly just to test his powers, Vegeta made quick work of the robot, even allowing him to drain his energy just to prove a point before deciding he had enough and smoking on that 19 pack, lighting it up with a big bang attack and setting his sights on Android 20 next. Android 20 stands absolutely perplexed in front of Vegeta and the remaining Z warriors, doing his best to hide a surprise. By his calculations, Prince Vegeta is supposed to be ass, and yet here he stands in front of him, staying stuck grinning after putting one of Gero's finest creations into the scrap heap like it's light work. Vegeta then calls out the 20, mocking him and letting him know that since he just powered down out of Super Saiyan, now would be the perfect time to suck him up if he's really about that life. Gero senses that at Vegeta's current power level, he would be able to give him that Yamcha treatment low diff. But knowing these animals' abilities to raise and lower their power levels at will, he decides that it would be best to mount a tactical retreat for right now, until he can regroup and work out a plan on how to best dispose of the cretins in front of him. And with that thought, Gero mounts his escape, jumping out of the arena faster than Goku runs from his parental responsibilities while working to compose his next plan. The moment the robot is out of earshot, the Prince of Acting shouts out at Team Sideline to throw him one of them perks because the android is about to get away. As much as he hates to do it, Piccolo can't help but give Vegeta props on how many points he invested into the cap skill tree. 20 could have easily powdered Vegeta's donut back there, but through a combination of boastful body language and taunting, Vegeta convinced the android he was still a threat and made him think the safest option was to run off. Krillin tells Vegeta that the plug ran off without leaving him anything, but Piccolo, realizing that Vegeta, despite becoming even more unbearable post Super Saiyan transformation, is still their best shot right now at putting an end to all this, orders Patrick Stewart to give up the perk before the android gets too far out of range. Begrudgingly, he agrees, and Vegeta begins his pursuit of 20, making sure to remind the rest of the group how sorry they are on his way out. After he finishes flipping Vegeta the bird as he flies away, Tien informs the rest that he intends to follow after the android too, stating he wants to make sure they get finished off lest his training was all for nothing. Piccolo stares and gives Tien the side eye for a moment, trying to register if dude is serious or not, because he knows damn well he ain't about to do nothing against these androids, even if he does find them. Piccolo agrees to go along as well though, and the remainder of the B team follows suit shortly after. Piccolo warns them though to not try to 1v1 this man, and if anything pops off, to call out for help so they can form the gank squad and make sure dude has zero chance of taking a dub. And with that, the remainder of the crew fly off to the canyons in search of 20. We now return to the perspective of Vegeta, who is confident that the android is close by, but is getting pissed off at his inability to sense him. Vegeta decides that since this man has no life force to track, the only way this is going to work is for him to lure him out. And what better way to do that than to nuke the entire area along with every living thing in it? By this time, the rest of the Z crew have made their way to the canyons as well. Krillin's spidey sense that lets him know that death is imminent begins to trigger, causing him to look up at the sky as Vegeta's mid-nuking process. Krillin shouts from the bottom of his lungs that the rest of them are there too, but it's too late. A part of me feels like this man Vegeta heard Krillin crying for his life and was absolutely able to stop himself mid-ki blast, but chose not to because that's what gets his rocks off. Unfortunately though, I have no concrete proof of this, so we're just gonna let it pass. But just like a set of genital warts, 20 pops up when you least want and least expect them, readily sucking up Vegeta's juices for a quick recharge, then making his way back into the rock formations for another game of hide and seek. And to 20's viewing pleasure, he also senses 4 other power levels that have made their way to the vicinity, waiting to meet his bottomless hole as well. 20 begins his calculations and decides that Piccolo makes sense as the first target, seeing as he is the strongest next to Vegeta, meaning if he is able to drain him, he will be on about even footing with the Cap Lord himself. This next part becomes a straight horror movie, especially in the anime, as the Z Fighters navigate their way through the canyon's depths, playing the highest stakes game of Marco Polo the Earth has ever seen. My favorite part is Vegeta just floating in the air, hurling insults across the canyon in hopes that if he roasts the android hard enough, maybe he'll emerge from the rocks to defend his name. I know Vegeta was up there thinking, damn, if somebody was talking crazy to me like this, I know I'd be throwing ones. How is this man able to stay quiet after I've been dogging his moms this much? Down below, 20 is almost ready to pounce. As he continues lurking amongst the rocks, he catches the Namekian lacking. And in one of the most pause-worthy moments in an arc full of relentlessly pause-worthy sections, this very grown android starts straddling Piccolo from behind, places his hands over his mouth and gives him the craziest reach around in history, milking Piccolo bone dry. Piccolo starts becoming lightheaded and has to think fast. He immediately hops on his telepathic Zoom connection and phones his day one Gohan that he's being milked and his life is flashing before his eyes, so please send help. Gohan, panicking because he's not exactly sure what his best friend meant by that, turns around as he senses an energy signal fading rapidly and delivers a double axe handle from the top rope just in time before Gero could reach the climax of his deadly reach around. Krillin then gets on his Tom Brady timing, and no, he doesn't kiss his son directly on the lips, you weirdos. He grabs a perk from the bag and chucks it across the canyon to Piccolo, who munches on that bad boy ASAP and in an instant is back in fighting shape. Now the turns have truly tabled as Gero stands directly in the middle of the canyon facing a 5v1 situation that is looking positively devastating. And this is before I even add Kurt Angle to the mix. Now you put him in there and his chances of success drastically go down. But that's enough Steiner math for one day.
So you got a 25% at best at beating me, and then you add Kurt Angle to the mix? Your chances of winning drastically go down.
Because Piccolo's none too happy about this non-consensual reach around and starts stancing up. My man does the Majunior classic, chucking off the cape and turban combo on the battlefield, and that's how you know it's time to get busy. Piccolo, low-key mad that he got caught lacking the way he did, calls for a 1v1. Vegeta, being the kind of jerk he is, can't help but chime in with a, yo, I don't care if you get body bagged or not, but I promise you if you let this man suck you dry before he murks you, I'ma be heated and curb stomp you myself. Piccolo, after ruminating briefly on which of Vegeta's shoulder he's going to dislocate first after he beats the androids, walks ahead and stances up. Gero stares across from him with a smile on his face, thinking he must have the luck of the devil, because if he's able to fight Piccolo 1v1 like this, that's a... And before homie can finish the thought, he's met with a gigantic green knee to the dome piece that connects so hard, everybody in the immediate area felt it. The knee was so hard, even Vegeta had to be like, damn, alright, maybe Green Man ain't as soft as I thought. And with the tone being set like that, my man Piccolo starts going to town, elbowing 20, kicking his brain matter left and right. Absolute insanity. I've never seen a concussion in real time before, but Gero put me on and it's not pretty. And the whole while this man 20 is getting mollywopped by Piccolo, the young goat Trunks appears, so I've made his way back from his timeline as well, and sensing the battle energy in the direction of the canyon, begins to make his way over. As he's flying towards the conflict though, he stops and peeps a decapitated android head laying on the floor. Only things start to get extra weird, because Trunks peeps it, and the only words he can muster are, whose mans is this? Trunks makes his way to the battlefield with even more haste, thinking to himself that the android he found on the battlefield back there was definitely not the android that has been whooping his ass for years. So who exactly were they, and has the interference already changed the timeline this much? Back on the front lines, 20 is on his hands and knees facing an erect and confident Piccolo. 20 postulates out loud how in the blue hells could even Piccolo, who's supposed to be a firm member of the B team with a middling power level, making him look like a joke right now. Piccolo, choosing to take the high road and not engage in the roast session, tells 20 that he knew they were coming, they prepared, and as a result the future has been changed. As Piccolo prepares to wipe the android out before Vegeta can kill steal, they're interrupted by a substantial power level that's made its way to the war zone. And this time it's none other than Trunks. After hearing the others yell Trunks' name upon arrival, Vegeta begins to math the math and thinks, wait, my son's name is Trunks. And if this kid says his name is Trunks and he's from the future, As Vegeta's brain begins to collapse in on itself, Trunks surveys the battlefield and points at 20, asking them if this is the dude they've been fighting. Confused, the other warriors are like, yeah bro, I mean you should know, you're the one that warned us about these things in the first place, right? Looking more worried as the conversation continues, tells him that he has never seen this thing in his life. Now everybody is just staring at one another, more confused than ever. A pissed off Vegeta breaks the silence, asking the supposed fruit of his loins that if this isn't the android he warned them about, then just what the hell have they been fighting against anyway? Trunks tells Vegeta that he's not sure, but these are definitely not the androids he's warned them about. Before the line of questioning can continue, Kurt Angle enters the mix. Nah, I'm playing. Yajirobe and Bulma roll up with baby Trunks to the battlefield to peep what's going on. Yajirobe wanted zero parts to do with coming out here, even threatening to throw the baby out the window on the ride over. Bulma, without batting an eyelash, is like, boy, you thought, letting Yajirobe know who the daddy is and asking him if he wants to rethink that idea. Yajirobe sits in stunned silence, staring at the young child before inquiring in a hushed tone if Bulma truly let that man Vegeta hit. And to be real, y'all, I do not blame that man Yajirobe one bit. Let's really sit down for a second and think about how crazy it is that Bulma chose Vegeta out of all people to lay down with. The 5-head and him being 3'9" aside, we really gotta think about their history together. Do y'all realize how many deaths of Bulma's closest companions, either directly or tangentially, that Vegeta is responsible for? This man put Goku in a coma, almost killed his son, and directly ordered his goons to take out not only Tien and Chaozu, but her previous man as well. Dude has shown nothing but animosity towards her and the people she cares about. And not only did she allow this lunatic an all expense paid stay in her family's estate, but also agreed to the ultimate commitment and laid down for some Saiyan snoo action, no Durex, and everybody's supposed to not stare at her like she lost her mind? Absolute street behavior. But let's get back to the matter at hand. Yajirobe, baby Trunks, and Bulma roll up on the battlefield as well, and things are starting to get a little crowded. With all the commotion though, Android 20 views this as the perfect time to get away, leaving the crew with the parting words that they will be sorry once he busts Android 17 and 18 out the cut before aiming a massive blast at the canyon floor and running off. Trunks, sensing that the blast could be lethal for his mother and his younger self, shields him from the explosion. As the explosion dissipates, it's clear that 20 has made his escape. But even more pressing than that, Trunks has a few words for his father as he rises from the floor while being thanked by Bulma for his assistance. Young Trunks flies right up to his pops' face and asks why in the world he didn't do something back there to protect his family, as shielding them from the explosion would have been easy for him. The prince of all deadbeats just smiles and tells Trunks that he's got no time for worthless things like family and fatherhood, and the only thing that matters to him right now is testing his strength against those androids. Trunks reels back for a moment, barely being able to process what he heard from the big-head, blonde-haired leprechaun that's supposed to be his sperm donor. Bulma speaks up and states that she recognizes the android though, revealing that she's confident that that was Dr. Gero himself, likely using his scientific capabilities to turn himself into an android so that he can live longer. Piccolo, trying to get some answers out of the confusion they are now all experiencing, asks Big Trunks to describe Android 17 and 18 so that they're not caught off guard again when the time comes. Trunks nods his head in agreement, telling them that Android 17 is a cold-hearted twink with dark hair, a bandana, and an attitude. Ladies love him. Then he begins describing 18, telling them all that she's an absolute baddie with blonde hair. Woman has a chest out to here, thin waist, and absolute fat. Piccolo cuts him off, is like, bro, we get it, that's enough. Krillin's on the sideline salivating simply off 18's description. A brief bit of foreshadowing when he lets his PP cause literal doomsday as we get further into the arc. Vegeta asks Bulma the location of Gero's lab. Bulma tells Dude the vague description of his general whereabouts, as Gero has always been very secretive. Piccolo states that he plans on making his way over in an effort to discombobulate the androids while they're still dormant, because if they are half as bad as what Trunks' PTSD makes them sound, they in no way, shape, or form need those goons waking up. Vegeta scoffs at Piccolo's level-headed rationality, telling him he thought that his belly was green, not yellow, and that he plans on finding the lab before all of them so the androids can be activated so he can really test his strength. And like that, Vegeta shoots off. Trunks warns his father of the android's powers yet again and tells him that the most intelligent thing would be to collaborate and regroup once Goku gets better. Vegeta laughs the suggestion off, telling his son that he is fundamentally built different from the rest of them, and there's no way he really came from his nutsack talking about plans and tactics like that. As Vegeta leaves for the location of Gero's lab, Trunks follows, telling them that even though his dad seems like a grade A piece of garbage, he's not okay with losing any more family to the androids. As Trunks flies off, Bulma remarks on how the boy called Vegeta family and wonders if his own parents were taken out by the androids too. Piccolo, sick of all the secrets, gets Bulma up to speed, letting her know that the kid she's been salivating over since he arrived is actually her son, grown up and from the future. As is expected, Bulma briefly, no pun intended, spazzes out for a moment before acknowledging the resemblance between the young man and her own baby. Bulma then works on trying to change the genre of DBZ from shonen to something else entirely, as she remarks on how she's happy that her son grows up to be that hot and how she was worried with how mean he always looked as a small infant. Growing more annoyed and disgusted with every breath, Piccolo decides he can't take anymore, ordering Gohan to take Bulma, Yajirobe, and the baby back to safety while he takes the other losers with him to Gero's lab, thinking that as long as the androids don't wake up, even the absolute wieners here might be useful. The scene then transitions to Vegeta and Trunks, with Vegeta noticing his son following behind, and whether out of a subconscious sense of fatherly duty wanting to test his son's capabilities, rapidly increases the pace to outrun him like he will be doing with his upcoming child support payments. Trunks then reminisces on a conversation he had with his mother back in his time, who states that his father really did do a lot of evil things, and if he stays dead, he's gotta be rotting in hell. But she's also convinced that there's something more hiding under that fierce temperament that he doesn't let others see. Trunks is not convinced though, questioning his mother's judgment as he continuously reflects on how Vegeta was so easily willing to let his life and child perish in such a preventable way if it meant having a good fight more quickly. As Trunks reminisces, Piccolo, Tien, and Krillin split up to see who was able to find Gero's hideout first, with whoever making contact gathering their chi to let the others know so they can run a 3v1 and get things over ASAP. The chapter ends with none other than Krillin watching Gero scurry his way into the hidey hole and gathering his energy in hopes that they can all make their way to his lab before it's too late. And here, my friends, is where we'll call it for today. What did y'all think of the continuance of the Android saga? I'm a big fan of the shift in tone in these chapters, with this early part of the Android saga being more focused on suspense and strategy rather than constant fights and transformations. Tune in next time as we get introduced to both Android 17 and 18. Will Vegeta's newfound strength be enough to change the future? Or was Trunks right and even the power of a Super Saiyan is no match against the android's unlimited energy? Be easy, y'all, and I'll talk to you soon in the next video.